Hey Saber fans, so I have a very special install to show off today. It's a, it's a Phoenix Props V1 Kylo Ren. While it may not be the most accurate, it is the most slim. I can actually touch my fingers around the shroud. No offense to the more accurate models, I just prefer this one. And this was originally installed by Harp sabers. Anyone who's not familiar with his work, I encourage you to go check it out. He produces some amazing chassis setups. Regardless, I believe he did the painting on this and the original install. So we're at a minute in. Let's go ahead and show you the install. It's a Proffie 2.2 neopixel. It's got a custom-made blade plug made from aluminum, a heatsink, and a brass nub. These are shapeways printed, modified heavily to be shine through. I'm sorry, that is loud. Let me turn this down. Much better. So, heavily modified blade plugs. We, of course, have color changing on the fly. Need to change that sound for the color change. Let's get it back to red, shall we? There we go. You have your auxiliary effects. Lockup, force effects, don't know if you've spotted all this brass in here, but yeah, the reveal, there's a couple reveals. Have an emitter gash crystal, similar to the, I believe it's the visual dictionary for lightsabers, whatever. It's got the crystal placed up there, you know, giving off all that energy in all directions. So I was able to mimic that, and I actually attached the crystal to the bottom of the neopixel module, and the speaker is right below it. Just enough distance to clear it. Probably can't see it in camera, but there is a speaker right down in there. And as far as I know, Harp made a lot of custom things for this, particularly this and that. So I believe this originally came with like a plastic insert, but to my knowledge, he custom made all of that. And you can actually see how that's connected a little bit there, a little brass nubbin, but put some paint over it, but it's freaking beautiful. And custom made the belt clip too. But what he really custom made was all this beauty here. I'll show you more of that because this entire sleeve comes off to reveal a removable battery on the backside, and it has USB-C charging and SD card access there. And also, I put the charging module up slightly. It's like in this area, but sorry, there's a lot to cover. You get to see the red and green LEDs on the charging module through here, so you can actually see when it's done charging. So glad I was able to figure out how to do that. It was a pretty cramped install, but there's a Noah Drew holocron crystal. I have two accent LEDs down in there on the turbine effect. Freaking awesome. Let me just turn off my light real quick. just wicked. Until the focus is like really off. There we go. Music tracks, of course. This is probably my favorite thing to do with this saber, is just to get that TFA scene going. Say what you want about the sequels, this was a beautiful track. Let's see, which font is which?
Kylo Ren.
Oh, yes. Two of my favorite fonts. Kyberphonics Unstable and K-Sith's, what is it, Crossguard? I think it's Crossguard spelled with a K. Kyberphonics. Force effects.
Traitor!
K-Sith. I did the same music file on both, so.
You know what I've come for.
Oh, you've already heard all that. You can see all the exposed wires in there, perfectly secured right behind that. Even that, I can barely even feel it unless I really press in there. It's not going anywhere, and I love the exposed look. A lot of modifications had to be made to this in order for it to work the way it is now. So to access the removable battery, there are 3 screws to remove. And the last one is this tiny one right here. It's got to be like an M2 or smaller thread. Super tiny. So, there's the charging module, like I said. 2 LEDs that shine through. USB-C. Removable battery. You can still access that anytime you want. That's a slim Kylo. You may be wondering, what the hell's with the magnet ring? Well, magnetic activation. Pretty sweet, huh? Yeah, a lot of modifications went into this. So you'll see that there's a magnet down here, and also magnet up here. Now that magnet back there and that one were not originally there. That was originally a screw, but considering I've done some different chassis retaining methods to this, I can use that to double my magnetic power. So, not wiggling off. Before it would kind of wiggle a little bit. And, you know, I think he originally meant to add another magnet there because it was already ground down a little bit up there. But man, I gotta say though, the balls that Harp has to cut into a Kylo like this. Because I mean, this is all threading here. It originally threaded on up here. He removed all that and just ran with it. Yeah, a lot of time and effort went into this. So, for a lot of the modifications I made, cleaned up this U channel here. And of course, custom made the chassis, which took a lot of revision. Thankfully, they make 18500s in high-amp batteries now. Added this, actually no, that was the original set screw for the crystal chamber, so I didn't do anything with that. But I did add this chassis retention screw for down here, because this one didn't quite cut it, unfortunately. Also had to make some heavy modifications to the crystal chamber. Good 2 or 3 hours at least spent with the Dremel. Getting it large enough to fit the Noah Drew holocron crystal was the difficult part. And you'll notice that little sphere in the dead center there. It's easier to see with a light color. There's a light blue. You can see that little orb in the middle there. Apparently that's like a genuine opal.
Kylo Ren.
Back to that lovely red. That did have some blue paint in there before. I kind of went back over that with some Tamiya Royal Blue. Turned out great. Had to modify the control box for wire routing because all the wires routed up. And unfortunately, with the way I redesigned the chassis with the speaker jutting out through there, and he used a smaller speaker, like a 20mm flat speaker, which is the smallest you can get for standard lightsaber installs. But I upped that to a 22mm bass speaker, and as you can tell, it sounds phenomenal. Volume control is a beauty. Like, that's almost too loud for me to be comfortable with. And that's only at the 2400. It's just the sound venting. It's just perfect. It's venting all throughout the inside of the shroud. Oh, let's see. What other modifications did I have to make? There's a whole lot of wires down in here. A whole lot of wires. Because basically, what I did was wired the emitter. Brought the wires out. Wired everything down here, routed it up, connected it up here. That's all those really cool exposed wires. So, I mean, at any time, I could just unscrew this, take that off. I'd have to desolder the switches, but, you know, compared to what else I did, what the hell ever. And I could remove the shroud. I might even be able to remove the shroud without doing that. Sure as hell not going to try. There we go. I do not want to cross thread this. Easy as that. I do have two Proplicator Kylons here. And El Stubbo. Yeah, the nice deep blade socket too. Yeah, unfortunately the magnetic detection, while it works, I think I need to get a bigger reed switch. I used Captain tape to seal that gap a little bit. And for anybody who has bought the Proplicators Kylons, he's using TPU now. So the blades are kind of squishy, which I'm cool with. I think it's really cool. Only issue I have is getting a main blade to match 3D printed material. It's hard to match that look. As you can see, took no prisoners on that Kylon tip neither. Tried to get it lit up as far as humanly possible. And that took a little bit of ingenuity, not gonna lie. Oh, let's see. Anything else for me to go over with this bad boy? This is about a year in the making. I literally had this crystal for about 3 years before I used it. And I could not think of a better situation than this. But hope you enjoyed the video. Until the next time, may the force be with you always.